You mentioned a very important point. No cocoa trees growing in Switzerland, yet they have a big chocolate industry and so forth. So, value addition, very important for Africa, but it has been a struggle for many of our countries in our post independence journey to transform our economies from over dependence on agriculture or on resources, exporting raw mineral resources, raw natural resources somewhere else to be processed and brought back to us at a much higher cost. Tell us about Mauritius' post-independence journey to transform the economy and how you think you have done in terms of that transition towards diversification. What takeaways you think that might have for others?
Mauritius is an interesting case, and recently there has been a lot of discussion as to whether there has been a Mauritian miracle. And my short answer is that there never was an economic miracle per se, and I will explain. Is that we have a 50 plus post-independence history. And just before independence, a couple of Nobel Prize winners have said that we are in a lost case. A lost case because we are too far away from the market. We are a small island. We are subjected to all the challenges of weather. We had cyclones and it's not accessible. So, we're a basket case and we are doomed for failure, right? Then came independence in 1968. And then we had, just before independence, we had some entrepreneur who actually set up the nucleus, which was to become our national airline. And after independence, what happened was that three important decisions were taken immediately after independence. One of them to provide free healthcare to all. There was a move as well to control fertility. So there was a move for controlling the family size. And then there was another important issue that was important, decision was taken, which was to provide social safety net. And social safety net is so important because when you're moving from a highly, we were entirely dependent on sugar because sugar contributed 92% of our GDP. And the per capita income at that time was about $200 per year. Now we are just about 10,000. So it shows that there has been a massive diversification of and also decision taking, creating the ecosystem. So every 10 years, we actually added a new pillar to diversify the economy. But I think what was the biggest game changer was when there was a student protest in 1975. And in 1976, and precisely the student protest was because there was too much stereotype on the education, the textbooks which are given to kids, and also all the schools were in the urban areas and not enough in the rural areas. So when education became free in 1976, I think to me personally, that was a very big changer because and it was free for all. So the parents didn't have to think as to whether they need to educate the boys, which of course made economic sense, and they could also educate the girls. And these women who were out there cutting sugarcane in the fields, they had a modicum education, so they could be taken in the fledgling industrial zone. And we started also the free zone at the time. So the textile sector became a big absorber of women labor force. And this moved on. In the 1990s, we started with the financial services, and the university that was set up as a development university provided the trained manpower because the discussions were there between the private sector, close collaboration, private sector, public sector, so that the pillars of the economy could be added to the pillars could be added to the economy from then on. So every 10 years, we started adding a new pillar. And by 2000, we had added, of course, IT and the financial services, the banking, the offshore, and all these, the financial sector, because we realize with the size that we have, 2,000 square kilometers of land, we will never be able to compete with those who are emerging. In 2001, we saw the admission of China in the WTO. And there's no way that we could compete. But we had to use our strategic advantage to actually build the economy. And this, to me, has been what we call the economic miracle. And there's one thing as well that we also have to flag is that we need to have election every 5 years. This is part of the Constitution. It's a bit complicated to actually change the constitutional provision that we need to have election every 5 years. And we know that when there is election every 5 years, Those who have been given a mandate, of course, gets judged by the end of the mandate. And the vision, the downside is that the vision may be short term because it's still 5 years, but the uptick of this is that they have to work, they have to deliver. And so this is how the country emerged. So strategic thinking, good decision, investment in the various ecosystem. But I think right now we are at a crossroad. We need to see where the economy is going to go. If we are going to go into knowledge economy, how much investment are we making in that space? And we have to run faster than we can walk, because we started crawling, we started walking, and we didn't have time to really start walking fast. We have to run. But I think we have to go back to the good old value that the African statement has been made on how we can go far, we can go together. These kind of things that we have to look. And I think being part of the African Union, we have signed up to the free trade agreement. I think we have to look towards Africa for the emergence of our country. And now that there are many geopolitical, there are so many moving parts, at least from that perspective. Now we are strategically placed in the Indian Ocean. We have to use our position to make our position work for us. And we straddle two big continents. We straddle the African continent, we straddle the Asian continent. And by virtue of the diversity of our people, we should be able to make it work for us too. But of course, in collaboration with our peers, with our partners, where Africa, of course, is a very, very important partner as far as I'm concerned, speaking here personally. I think the foreign policy should be more geared towards Africa.
Absolutely. So, and of course, the other thing there that you point to is the accountability. What changed for Mauritius to be able to make these strides whilst you were building one pillar at a time every 10 years? And I guess that's the way to go. You can't do everything in one go, but you can make steady progress. And that accountability for me is particularly important. When there is accountability to the people, clearly things start to happen because there are consequences to not delivering.